Continuing with Bereshit 37.1. And Yaakov dwelt in the land in which his father had sojourned, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Yaakov. Yosef, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Yosef brought to his father their evil report. And Yosef brought to his father their evil report. Now Yisrael loved Yosef more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a coat with long sleeves. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and couldn't speak peaceably to him. And Yosef dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said to them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told his brethren, and said, Behold, I have again dreamed a dream. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me. And he told it to his father and to his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said to him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brothers indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brother envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind. And his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, Do not thy brothers feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee to them. And he said to him, Here I am. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brothers, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brothers. Tell me, I pray thee, where are they feed their flocks? And the man said, They are departed from here, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near to them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer comes. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say, An evil beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might save him out of their hands, to deliver him back to his father. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come to his brethren, that they stripped Joseph of his coat, the long-sleeved coat that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread. And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelim came from Gilead with their camels, bringing gum and balm and ladanum, going to carry it down to Mitzrayim. And Yehuda said to his brothers, What profit is it if we slay our brothers and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelim, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother and our flesh. And his brothers hearkened to him. Then there passed by Midianim merchants, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelim for 20 pieces of silver. And they bought Joseph into Mizraim. And Reuben returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he rent his clothes, and he returned to his brothers and said, The child is not, and where shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat with long sleeves, and they brought it to their father and said, This we have found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without a doubt torn in pieces. And Yaakov rent his clothes and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his sons many days. And all his sons and his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down to my son mourning in Sheol. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianim sold him to Mitzrayim, to Potiphar, Pharaoh's chamberlain, a captain of the guard. And it came to pass at that time that Yehuda went down from his brothers and turned into a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. And Yehuda saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went into her, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Er. And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Keziv when she bore him. And Yehuda took a wife for Er his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Er, Yehuda's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Yehuda said to Onan, Go into thy brother's wife and to perform the duty of a brother-in-law and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it came to pass when he went into his brother's wife that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. So he slew him also. Then said Yehuda to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at thy father's home, till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, Lest perchance he die also, as his brothers did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in process of time the daughter of Shua, Yehuda's wife, died. And when Yehuda was comforted, he went up to his sheep shearers to Timnah, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goes up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat by the entrance to Enaim, which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given to him to wife. When Yehuda saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned to her by the way and said, Come now, I pray thee, let me come into thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me that thou mayest come into me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet, and thy cord, and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it to her, and it came into her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and laid her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Yehuda sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adulamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where's that harlot that was at Enaim by the wayside? And they said, There's no harlot in this place. And he returned to Yehuda and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said, There was no harlot in this place. And Yehuda said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Yehuda, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, has played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by harlotry. And Yehuda said, Bring her out, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, I am with child. And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and the cord and the staff? And Yehuda acknowledged them, and he said, She has been more righteous than I, because I gave her not to Shelah my son. And he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon the hand of a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, Why hast thou made such a breach for thyself? Therefore his name was called Perez. And afterward his brother came out, that he had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerach. That's Bereshit 39:1.